Recording. Good. All right. So again, welcome to the July ACSESS HSEP meeting. And again, hope everybody's having a good summer and not too much going on from a program change point of view. So I do have a bit of an agenda. Let's bring that up. There we go. Hopefully you should be able to see that. And just a couple of update things, reminders, and then topic review for this meeting, next meeting agenda, and Q&A. Obviously, you can ask anytime during the meeting. You don't have to wait till Q&A, but we always set aside time for the Q&A as well. And as usual, you can just unmute yourselves and ask a question. I do have the chat box open, but just in case I'm not looking at it, it's always easier to unmute and ask. Let's start with the topics and topic status. So many of you have probably been getting emails or gotten emails, regarding where you're at, because everybody's kind of at a different stage in the program. There's some that started late, ended late. So some people are just finished topic selection and kind of starting because they just waited several months to start. Many of you are several months in to your action plan, have an expiry date, and I think a lot will come to expiry in the fall. So very, very important to keep an eye on the timeline so you don't run into inability to complete a topic, because you do need time between the due and the check. And so if you start 3 or 4 weeks before expiry date, you start a topic, you won't have time to properly finish it. So that's why I have that 365-day cycle completion requirement reminder. I went through it at the last meeting. Hopefully you've printed it, have it in front of you, because that's really the minimum, in order to reasonably trying to complete 5 topics. So I've set it up for 5, and obviously you have a lot more flexibility if you're only doing 4 or 3 topics, right? So anyone who is 2 months into their action plan should have sent me their draft of how they plan, do, and check, anticipate doing the plan, do, and check for their topics, so that I could review them, so that when you are ready to submit, at least and I know you're on the right track. I've had scenarios where people submit, they've collected the evidence and done a bunch of stuff, and they missed the requirements of the topic. So it's a little late to backtrack, especially if you don't have too much time left to your expiry date. That's why at minimum, I ask to at least let me see what you're planning on doing at about the 2-month mark into your plan. So you have 2 months to draft out the P, D, and C. You can't do the act because you don't know what the results of the C are, and review it. Send it to me, review it. If there are issues with it, I always send you the feedback. If there's something we need to talk about, then I schedule a Zoom meeting. So I do try to keep a track of everybody, but it is really your responsibility to keep track of your timeline so that you don't end up having to defer topics. All right. Any questions on that part of it? Other than folks that are new, you should have pretty comfortable with the portal by now. How to upload the implementation model under tab 2, how to prepare the plan.
Updates on the data.
Sorry?
Is it 365 days from the day that we submit our rationale form?
From the day I approve it.
Okay. So it doesn't follow a calendar year.
Correct. No, it does not. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So as soon as you send me that topic selection rationale form, I reviewed it and it's okay. Then I go into the portal. Well, I usually ask you to go in and do the clicking of the boxes, topic selection, upload the form, and then mark it ready for review. And then I know that the system sends me an email, and then I know to go in, look at it. Everything is as we discussed. I approve it. That's the day the clock starts ticking.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and you can, as soon as you log into the portal and you go to your desktop, on the history, it'll show you, if you're in year 2, it'll show you the previous action plan, when it expired, and its status will say closed. And then it'll show you the one that's now, and it'll say approved, and it'll show you the expiry date right on your dashboard. So if you're wondering where to see that, it goes right on the dashboard. And then as you do more and more years, more than 300, all the history will be there for all your previous plans. It'll say close, 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 and the current one will be approved. Once you submit the first topic, I believe that approved changes to in progress because you've started with one topic, right? Amazing. And it stays in progress on the dashboard until you finish all the topics, and then it'll say pending closure once we've submitted everything. And then after that, and once they decide to close it, they will switch it to closed. And all that is for the full action plan, right? So there are stages for the full action plan, and then there are stages for each topic, right? So when you go to your actual topic evidence upload, you can see the status of each topic, right? And that's right beside the topic. It'll say, a draft if you haven't submitted anything. If you've submitted it and I've and you put it ready for review, then it'll be ready for review status. Once I send it for validation, it'll say in progress, which means it's in progress of being validated. And then it'll either go to complete, incomplete, or AER, right? Additional evidence required. So until the topic is closed eventually, hopefully, right? It may say deferred if you deferred it. Okay, so there are different categories of status for the full action plan and for each topic. And all of that is accessible through your dashboard, right? If you forget how much money you got in the past and all that, I believe there's an archives, and it'll show you the rebate that was issued, right? So all the money payouts. For those of you who may be in the small business program, they're just now within probably the next couple of weeks, we'll be sending out the $1,000, I believe, for people that were a small business that rejoined. If you have an approved action plan ongoing now, you would be in line for that $1,000 support payment. So for the small business. So keep an eye out. And I think they're doing it the same way as they do the other rebates. If your account is paid up for premiums, then you'll get a check. If it's not, then they'll apply the $1,000 to the outstanding amount. And if there's a balance left, then you might get a check for the balance of that $1,000. I think they're doing the same thing with the support payment. Okay, and that only applies to small business. All right. Speaking of the portal, you can see that for the next, and I think it's now down to 6 days because that's about 2 days old now. Not that I expect you to be on the portal from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., but just in case you are and there's trouble, it's because they're shutting it down to do maintenance. All right, so just keep that in mind, and hopefully anytime after 6 a.m. I was on it today, it was fine. it'll be back up and running. So just to let you know, in case you run into some issues with that. All right. So topic review. Let me just, I'm just going to have a quick look at the list we generated. Last meeting we did workplace health promotion. Yeah, next on my list, I believe, is people wanted to know about legal and other requirements. It's not one that is commonly picked. It's not overly complicated, and it is a fairly good topic, probably one that many of you may not have a formal standard and procedure on. Oh, there's a question that just came in. Do we send you the complete plan procedure before we submit online? Yeah, so what you send me is the draft version of the PDC, originally 2 months in. When you're ready to submit, then you should have the PDC and A done, right? And so you can, you know, if you're ready with 2 topics, then you'll send me the PDCA of the 2 topics. It's the same form, has room for 5. Okay, don't split them up, because you can only upload 1 form to the evidence, to the implementation model tab. So all 5 topics will eventually show up. You just keep adding and updating that. That's all you send me. Okay, the evidence gets uploaded to the portal. Don't send it to me, because I don't have enough hard drive space to collect everybody's evidence packages. So that goes up on the portal. And when you finish submitting a topic, the evidence for a topic, then you mark that topic ready for review. I get an email saying it's ready for review. That's when I go in, I look at your PDCA again. I compare that to the evidence that you've uploaded. And if it meets the topic requirements, I send it for validation. If it doesn't, if there's some gap, I'll switch it from ready to review back to draft, and I'll send you the feedback on your PDCA, because I download those and keep the latest versions of those. So any feedback you'll get from me will be right on the PDCA. Like you should add this evidence, right? And if it's something that you're going to have to change on the evidence upload, I have to switch it back to draft so that you can then make those changes. If it's in ready for review mode, it's locked out from your end. So if I happen to forget to switch it to draft and you're trying to make a change to the evidence packages, just shoot me an email saying, please change it to draft so I can do an update, right? So until you're ready for me to look at it, don't switch it from draft to ready for review. You can upload a little bit at a time, your plan, your due, you know, and then you can wait, do your check and upload the check if you want. It doesn't really matter because it's in draft mode. You can make changes as you wish to the evidence upload. It's once you mark it ready for review, then you can't change it anymore. I have to switch it back to draft for you.
Hi, James. It's
yes,
Desiree.
Hi.
Hi. I just finished a meeting with the WSIB, the training webinar that they had.
Oh, great. Yeah.
On the last part. I'm sorry, my brain's a little tired.
Right? Yeah,
yes.
Demonstrate. Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to say that the key thing that they are focusing on, and you've mentioned it before, is that when it comes to them auditing, the document has to be fluid and has to be alive and breathing. They really stress that today. And it just so happened that one of the workers that were presenting was a gentleman that we had our last audit with 3 years ago.
Oh, like actually. He was part of safety groups, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So fluid, living and breathing document was the key thing.
Yeah, that's the term that they want you to, the whole idea of the evidence story is to demonstrate how you did that, right? And to show them that this topic is living and breathing. That's the term So the evidence you present needs to give them samples that is happening, right?
Right.
The narrative should make sense, right? So the narrative you write under the activity column should also have a sense of flow of what you did, planning and creating the standard for P. Doing is all the things you did to implement, right? You did the training for managers, you did it for supervisors, you did it for your full-time staff, and you did it for your temps, right? And then you have some samples of that. If you sent out any notices or anything like that, you would upload a copy of a notice, right? A communication. If it's stuff that you post, pictures of that posting, right? Screenshots of things that went out that were shared, right? It's really, the do is how you demonstrate that you made it living and breathing, right? So that's what they're looking for. You're right. And for those of you that haven't attended, I sent out the schedule and everything. They're really good for review, and you're getting it from the perspective. I think a lot of them are validators that are doing or program consultants that are doing the webinars. So it gives you a good chance to ask them directly any questions. So, they're a good review of each of the steps. So they have one for join and then one for demonstrate. So you're pretty well, everybody is at the demonstrate level, right?
Yeah. It was only half an hour.
Yeah. So they're not long. Yeah.
They're not long.
Yeah. I've attended both of them. Yeah. And they were about half an hour, depending on questions, maybe, 35, 40 minutes tops. Right. Yeah. They take you through the steps, what they're looking for. I think there's a couple of slides showing what the portal stuff. So kind of gives you just a review perspective of what you've been doing. So it doesn't hurt.
No, it was very good actually to hear what exactly they are looking for as possible auditors and reviewers and stuff. So I would recommend
they don't like to be called auditors. More.
Right.
But if you say that, if you would have said that, well, we don't audit, we validate, right? So
right. But in this case, I could say auditor because of the one Dean case.
He was. So their job titles are now validators, right?
Right.
Even when they come out on on-site validation, they call it, not an on-site audit, right? So, but that's good. That's what they're looking for the topics. You're correct. You're 100% right. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. All right. So, whoops, I'm just opening up the program guide so we can look at the legal and other requirements. I know, I don't know if anybody, I think one or two of you have done this topic. So hopefully there's somebody on the call that can also contribute to this review. So as the process goes, anytime pick a topic, you should have read it before you picked it, so you know what you signed up for. And then when you're ready to start working on the procedure for that topic, you would then, so let me share that. You would then open up the member's guide again, and you would then make sure you've got that procedure, that topic open in front of you as you're kind of doing the layout for your standard procedure or policy, whatever you call it, right? So it isn't a huge write-up for this one. So what are they looking for? They're looking, it's almost like a legal register, right? So what you do is you write a procedure that says someone's going to do a sort of a legal requirements analysis for laws that apply, municipal, provincial, federal, or other, right, to your business. And the focus is health and safety. But if you wanted to expand it you could. So that's what the procedures say. So-and-so, we've developed this register. It's an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to, so-and-so will scan for new laws every quarter, every whatever. And then we'll advise so-and-so of any procedures that need to be updated, right? And it would be a very basic policy. It doesn't, I can't see it being more than a page, maybe depending on your format, a page and a half, guiding how this happens, right? And then you would even put these 2 bullets in your procedure, right? All legal requirements taken into account, you can cut and paste, right? Right from here, these and adapt it to your own procedure, right? So that's the first thing. I would write up the procedure, and then the do is executing the procedure. So in order to do that, the first thing you should always do is say, okay, what would they may be looking for? And that's when the sample evidence story document comes in handy. So I've opened that up, should be able to see it on your screen. And then again, I'm going to go to legal and other requirements. And remember, these samples, that's all they are. You can, it gives you a flavor, but you can do it as long as it kind of aligns. So you can see under plan, you didn't have a procedure. We decided to do that. We didn't have a registry. So we decided to do that. We created it. We drafted it. They call it compliance to legal and other requirements policy. You can call it whatever you want. We had a meeting with leadership, safety committee, to share what it involves and who's going to do what, when, where, and how. And then you develop the registry, and it was reviewed and approved, right? So this is the plan, right? The do, right? So the evidence here would be the policy, and maybe just a template of the registry. The do really, actually filling in that registry is do. So the completed version of the registry, at least what you've started work, what you completed by the time of submission, that you hope you got it all, is part of the do. How you communicated and shared it. In this case, the draft, the sample says they posted it on the safety board. How you communicated it to the management team maybe at a staff meeting. And this particular one topics tends to lean more that it's administrative based. They really hopefully shouldn't be looking on too much, what did you do for the temps, right? Because it's more of an administrative topic. So, you didn't train the temps on your legal register. I can't see them saying that. It's possible. We'll address it if they do. But so this one, you're kind of safe if you didn't do a ton of it. It says train employees on legal and other requirements, but that's done in their orientation. So what you should say to cover the basis is, our temporary workers were trained on their legal requirements, are trained on their legal requirements through their health and safety orientation, through through whatever means that you do that, because that's their roles and responsibilities, and that's the training. But as far as on the matrix, on the policy, no. But on the components that come from that registry that are that they need to comply with, yes, that's where the training, I believe, the validator would be focusing on. How did you train them on their legal requirements? That would be the question if you didn't do it. So in this case, you would state that you do that through this means, and then a sample of whatever your website that, if you have stuff, the orientation, the first 3 slides of the orientation that have maybe the topics that are covered. You don't have to, if you have 40 slides, you don't need all 40 slides, right? The first 5, as long as they get a flavor of what's covered, that's it. Okay. So that would be evidence under due. So all the steps that you carried out, it starts to make more sense now as we read it, because they did create the samples in bullet. So especially for due, it's a great one to do bullets of every activity you did to implement, right? We posted this, we handed out this, we trained them, and then typically almost for every bullet, you don't need one piece of evidence, but something for a few of the bullets to show that you actually did that. Not every bullet will correlate to evidence, depending on what that bullet says. All right. Anybody else anybody on the call do the topic that you can contribute to the plan and do piece? Anybody do?
I did it in previous years. We did it
in the safety group program. Yeah.
Safety group. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit different here because the requirements or PDCA may not be out of it, but how did you go about it?
Honestly, I don't remember. It was like 12 years ago, James.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it's very different, if you
Yeah.
will. It's just looks different now. That's all.
Yeah. I think you still need a policy procedure. You still need the register, the legal register. Right. So,
yep.
So the basics of it are the same. And then whatever, based on that legal register, you need to show that you at least for the temps, the training was done on their role, their general roles and responsibilities.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the legal register would look like, something like this, Occupational and Safety Act, Section 25, responsibilities of the, employer. Section 26, responsibilities, So you would go through and kind of extrapolate the legal requirements that apply to your business from the act. And then you would do the same for the industrial regulations. You would do the same for, labor standards kind of thing, right? So you have a register of the laws that apply to you. And then you could have another column that says, activity for compliance, right? And you say policy, training, right? So I can see, okay, this is your legal requirement. And if I want to know what are you doing to comply with it, it references the activity you do for that. And typically it's going to be the policy or a health and safety board, right? For postings, right? So you create that register, right? And that would be the due. Right? And then the check. So what do you do in order to meet our legal requirements? All training certificates are documented on our matrix. So, you can show that you complied by issuing certificates. That's one way. Most common is you have a meeting with management, you have a meeting with the committee, and you review the policy. You review whether you carried out that policy. Compliance, legal requirements are checked during your monthly inspections. Because the committee is a lot of things on your inspection checklist. So you're monitoring and evaluating compliance to your registry. Reviewed your training matrix. So many different ways to do it, to evaluate that you're actually complying with your legal and other requirements. In this case, that's the flavor of the check, that you've done it and that you are complying with it. And you don't have to do all of these, right? Just something to show that you went back and you can demonstrate that you're doing what you said you were going to do on that policy and in the risk registry. All right. And then, as always, the act is a direct result of your check. So if you look at the guide to the PDCA, I've got some standard writing text for you. If there are no improvements, right? It's typically said, the results of our check showed that we're in compliance with our matrix, our compliant legal and other requirements, and we'll continue to monitor for opportunities for improvement, something like that, right? We thanked the health and safety coordinator for their great work in developing the matrix and keeping up to date. We thank the Joint Health and Safety Committee for contributing to the legal matrix, right? So acknowledgements as well, right? That kind of stuff. If you did make changes to the matrix or to the policy, you would basically upload the revised version of the policy or the registry. And here are some examples of evidence, right? So the policy, the registry, pictures of employee being trained. Okay, because first aid is a legally required training. Forklift, legally required, right? And lift truck. So you can show, here's how we comply with this legal requirement. And you don't have to do it for every legal requirement, right? So this one, again, just one or two specific legal requirements to show you're complying, right? And a couple of training certificates, right? Of forklift operators, first aid, right? So first aid in your registry would be Regulation 1101. How are you complying, the requirements, first aid kits and all that, and your policy, right? If you have one, is the reference, right? And then you can show a couple of samples of first aid certificates and even, first aid inspections is a legal requirement. So you can break it down, Regulation 1101, first aiders, inspecting first aid kits, posting of certificates, a first aid logbook, so you can have a picture of that. And they're not going to validate it for, did you cover every legal requirement, right? That's not, they don't have time to do that. So they're going to look at it, and if it looks like you've covered quite a few under the act, under the regs, under first aid, you can even do WMIS. WMIS can just be a one-liner or two or three, like WMIS, our labels are good, our training is good, our SDSs are up to date. So 3 requirements under WMIS from the WMIS reg, right? All right. Anybody else, ideas, comments on approach to doing this? Keep this topic in mind. It is doable. You don't have to do it overnight, because once you get the registry and all that, sharing it, communicating it, collecting stuff that you're already probably doing to evidence to comply, that stuff you already have. It's probably nothing. If you're doing what you're supposed to do on a yearly basis, you're going to have this stuff. So it's just collecting it now, a few samples of it, so that you can show you're doing it. And then wait a couple of months, do a review with the committee and keep the minutes of that review and upload the minutes, and you're done, unless you've got to make improvements. So not something, it compared to some other topics that might take a little bit more work on the do side with extra training and stuff. This one, a little bit straightforward. And from the temp side, it's more showing that you've trained them on aspects related to legal requirements, like their WMIS training, right? So that's where the temp stuff would come in, evidence related to the temps. All right. And that's always something validators will look for topic submissions, and they're focusing a lot on how does this topic apply to your temps and what did you do on that, as well as the office, right? So questions, comments, contributions. Nobody? I don't see any typing, so. All right. I've got a few topics still on the list here for future meetings. I've got control docs and records. We'll do those together because they go hand in hand. I've got injury illness reporting. I've got the 3 return to work topics. We'll probably do those together at a meeting. And again, are there any others that you want me to add to the list? You can type them into the chat, or you can unmute and let me, and I'll write them down. If something comes up after the meeting, just email it to me and I will add it to the list. So if there's nothing right this second, and it could be controlled hazard topics too as well. So don't forget that if you have a particular controlled hazard topic that you're working on, like we did, I think last meeting, or the meeting before, we did slip, strips, and falls. We can go over and brainstorm for a controlled hazard topic. There's a question. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay. I was just wondering, in terms of like sample evidence, what if you're doing a topic like incident and injury report and you don't have like evidence of that because it hasn't happened?
Right. So you just, in your PDCA under due, you'd say no samples of completed forms because we haven't had an accident. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Right. But at least they see the blank form, right? So
okay.
Same,
okay.
You know, that'll go same for Form 7s and stuff for reporting. If you don't have any claims, you don't have any Form 7s. That's
okay.
Right? So I wouldn't, you know, but it's in order to make sure there's no suspicion or question, just state it right there, and then you're not going to get a phone call from the validator. I didn't see a form, and then you're going to have to explain, oh, well, we didn't have any accidents. Oh, okay, right. It'd save you all that if you just put it right in the PDCA. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Because that's a common piece of evidence they're going to look for in that kind of a topic. So it's better just to say up front, we haven't had any since we developed the policy, right? So, all right. Good question. For health and safety training, do we have to provide the content of our internal training or only demonstrate the results? Is that so? For that topic, the plan is straightforward. It's your policy for health and safety training, and a training matrix would be the do, because the policy should require a training matrix. So part of the do will be the matrix and some examples of training that you've carried out, like the certificates of that, sign-in sheets, pictures. And again, it's got to be for office and temps. Basically, they want to see that you are doing health and safety training, right? So show some samples. So again, look at the sample evidence story will tell you. For the check, it's really a review of compliance to your training requirements, right? So basically, you'd say the health and safety coordinator reviewed the matrix against our training database and determined that, only 70% of employees completed the WMIS and you needed 100, right? You need everybody, right? So you're evaluating how well you've implemented the training requirements as per your policy and your matrix, right? It could, the evaluation could say, well, the feedback from our, forklift training was that they didn't like the company, so we're going to switch companies, right? So, it could be anything that you evaluated from your training requirements, from your training needs assessment and training matrix, or the policy itself, how it's been executed. That would be the check. But the actual execution of training, the development of the matrix, that would be evidence under due to show that you actually did create the matrix.
Perfect.
I think they call it a training needs analysis or something. And that's a good one. Again, a lot of probably good examples in the sample evidence story. You're looking for other ideas on how to do that. Anybody do health and safety training in year one that's on the call?
Health and safety training, that's our second year.
You're doing it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody, yeah, just to see if there's anybody has ideas who's done it in year one that's on the call today. I don't see anybody putting up their hands, or they can't remember. I think it was, I think I remember people picking it last year, but nobody that's on the call today. So. All right. All right. So just, yeah, a long time. The matrix is a training needs analysis. So training needs analysis. On the left-hand side of you have a column that says that lists all the courses, right? WEMIS training, roles and responsibilities training, working at heights training, forklift training, right? Every training that you do that you've identified you have a need for, right? And then on the top column, it would be who requires it, right? All the temps, only temps with forklift operators, all office staff only, senior management, middle management, supervisors, account managers, right? So, and then you put a little X on who needs what, right? First aid training, fire warden training, right? So you're basically doing a training needs assessment and putting it into a matrix. Right. And that's why that legal registry really helps, because if you've done that, it'll probably help you populate your training matrix, right? So because you're going to see a lot of training is legislated, right? If you have a joint health and safety committee, certification training, right? And it doesn't have to be only legislative. If you train people, accident investigation training, health and safety law training, right? So all the stuff that you do would be captured on there and tracked. And you also end up having a column on there for each training course. You put a column for refresher cycle, right? And what I do is I put 0 if it's a one-off. I'll put 1 for every year, 2 every 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, so that it captures how often that training needs to be done. Okay. And that's what they're going to look for. You created something like that.
James,
there are many ways. I'm sure you can Google training needs assessment or training matrix, and you'll probably have 50 formats you can choose from. Yep, go ahead. There's a question.
Can I ask the audience a question?
Please.
How are you guys tracking your training that your employees take at client locations?
So this is client site training?
Yeah.
Okay, good question.
Like either job specific or hazard specific type of training.
That your
how are they being tracked, and how are you tracking them?
Good question.
For myself, I visit our client sites, so I'm doing kind of an audit of our clients, and that's the kind of thing I'm checking if they are trained, and I ask our employees on site.
Okay.
It's an annual visit?
Do you record any document of it?
No, I don't capture any documents. What I'm doing is I'm writing an audit report after that.
Okay, so the record that you verified that is in some sort of a report, notes that you take and keep on file.
Exactly.
Okay.
Do you do that annually?
Yes. It was harder with COVID because some sites didn't accept strangers on site, but now I'm starting to go again now.
Okay. So site
you.
visits and verifying training
Yeah.
for your placements on each site at the client site level. That's one way. Good. Anybody else?
Actually, we used to do that too as well with some clients. I know Donald has some federal clients that have to have documentation of our temps on site, and he gets those.
So you get the training records, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Any way you collect or document training completed at client site, which is training not done by you? And that issue did come up in year one with those of you that did the COVID topic, because the validators were asking for verification that your temps not only got your COVID training, but client site training. And so many of the folks that did that topic had to, basically call client sites and do a verification with each client site to show that you did verify that. Otherwise, you have no clue that you sent them here, and who even knows that that client site has a COVID plan and does COVID training if you don't ask. And that's why the validators were looking for that, right? So if you only submitted the topic with staff training and not temp training on COVID or verification of client site temp training, it was marked as an AER, or they called you and asked for it and you provided it. So that's a great example, because that is the kind of thing they're going to look at, not only for that topic, but for every topic as well. If the client site does training, how do you verify that was done? Right. And I think some people tried, I guess, depending on your relationship with the clients, some people would ask for training records and the client would not provide them. So at least though you can get an email or a confirmation, I spoke to so-and-so on August 12th and they verified all temps received, At least you have a note or testimonial or something like that if they won't give you the training record, which I don't know why they wouldn't, but anyhow, maybe they don't keep training records. That's probably a good reason. Anybody else? Any other way that you capture training? Good question, because it is relevant to many of the topics and you're going to need to capture it. Okay, I guess we've covered the most common ways.
No.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Was that just a thank you or?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions? We're kind of slipped into the Q&A on where you're at with your topics, with your evidence, what you should collect, not collect, what you may collect on a particular topic.
I do have a question, actually.
Excellent. Yep. Go ahead.
So when we're doing the act, the implementing the procedure or whatever, or the training, is there a qualification on like in-person training versus online training? Is there a judgment on that, whether it's more effective or to be in person? Is there anything like that when they're doing the validation?
Yeah, so when it comes to training for a topic, that's due. Okay, it's not ACT. Just to clarify that ACT is the results of your evaluation of your audit. So that's the last piece. So due for a topic would be that requires training. Many of them do require training. That would be part of due. How you execute that, as long as it's bona fide training, whether you do it online, in person. A lot of you have online portals where they do, self-directed, computer-based, they do quizzes. you know, they've seemed to accept all forms of training. As far as submission of training evidence for a topic, right? A lot of you submit like screenshots of the training portal where they take the course, screenshot of the completion, because you can run a report of people who completed it and their score or whatever. So all of that is valid stuff for training. Is that what your question was at for? Did I understand the question correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you answered it.
Especially with COVID, there's a lot of stuff that was done remote, right? So, and more people are going to the online kind of now. If you, you know, if you're asking how effective each mode of training, that's a whole other discussion. But from a submission of topic, they're not questioning, you know, why didn't you do it, you know, this way and that way? That's not. As long as what they want to know is, did you do training? And is there any way you kind of, you know, in a lot of topics, you should really evaluate the training, like have a little quiz or a test, and yeah, then between 20 questions, 4 questions. Did you, you know, what would you do in the, to verify that when they did that training, they at least understood something, right? So a little quiz is always something that they might look for or ask for.
James, I have a question. I'm struggling with a way to prove my workplace health promotion with the temp staff.
Yeah, so the first question is, what activities related to workplace health promotion do you do that involve the temps?
Well, so the problem is we are doing visual training now through Zoom and stuff. And I don't believe Donald has been able to go to all of our clients. I think only a small amount still because of COVID still. Mm-hmm. So that's my dilemma.
Yeah, but when he's going, what are you doing there with your temps related to the topic, health promotion?
That's like my question.
Well, if you look at the, yeah, but if you look at the topic requirements,
yeah,
it says you've got to initiate health promotion activities, and it gives you a sample list.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So your policy should say, you know, these are the following health promotion activities that we do. And that's page 66.
Yep.
Is the,
yep.
right? So there's a list of some samples. So, you know, if you're working on this topic, it's because you planned on a couple of those initiatives. Like, do you have an EAP? Do you have any wellness initiatives, mental promotion, psychological first aid, vehicle, personal health and safety at home, anything like that? I know I know lots of others have done this, right? So they have every month they send out a campaign, promotional material on a particular health topic, right? On, you know, stretching, proper sleeping, you know, whatever. So here somebody wrote, for what we used our social media to promote general wellness to temps, right? So right. So that's a perfect for temps, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it's a theme, a wellness theme every 2 months, and they do a promotional campaign, goes out in an email to every temp worker, that kind of thing. Some did wellness, like a little bit of a survey that went out to the temps, right? On wellness as well. So that's what this topic is going to look for.
I got it. You just reminded me that we used to do pay stub inserts, and yeah, I totally forgot about that. So.
Yeah, pay stub inserts or emailing, you know, whatever works, right?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, James.
But yeah, they're going to look for at least 1 or 2 initiatives for your temps as well as your office. If it's all office, they're going to say, what, you don't care about the wellness of your temps, right? So,
yeah. So, okay. So here's a question then. So my other topic was the controller hazard ergonomics at home for mostly for the internal staff, but I do believe he had one at-home temp worker, right? Could I refer to the personal health and safety part of that topic on the welfare or workplace health promotion?
So what I mean, so the control hazard topic you're talking about is a topic in itself,
right?
Working from home. So there may be like, so there are some mental health or well-being tips in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be an initiative, you know, for wellness as well.
Okay.
But it would be a probably one of several components within your control of hazard topic, right?
Right.
Yeah, you could reference that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And in your scenario, it's still an okay topic, even if you have no temps that are working from home. You could still pick it as a topic. Just say, you know, this does not apply to our temps because we don't have any at the current time that work from home. And if you did, then you would apply it, right? So so it's because in some of your cases, a lot of you, 80% of your staff are now working from home, right? So you might have one physical branch or something, right? So so I'm pretty sure the validator will understand that. So they don't expect a huge application of that topic or that control of hazard to your temp workforce because none of them work for home, right?
Right. Okay.
So in your case, if you have one, you could say we shared it with that one, right? So that they know that you did, that you're paying attention to that you're not ignoring it, because the one may turn to 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, right. And I don't know how you guys, you know, how you format or write your policies, but from an application perspective and from a validator perspective, it would be really helpful if it was clear and distinct in your policy the things that apply to both internal and temp, things that apply to internal only, and things that apply to temp only, right? And if you broke it down that way, then they can see right in your policy how you've applied this to your business and your full-time and your temps, right? As opposed to expecting them to figure it out when they're reading the policy. Right. Good questions. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So next meeting, there are no more questions. We will not meet in August. Everybody's going Yahoo, probably. So I'm looking probably the end of September, something like the 29th, which is a Thursday, 29th of September. Any major things going on that I don't know about? Let me just check my schedule. September. Try that again. Yep, at 1 o'clock. We're good. All right. All right, excellent. And Desiree is willing to share. And that's something that, you know, from day one, anyone who is willing to share any policy procedure they worked on, if you send it to me, I will post it to the ACSESS library and let everybody know it's there. So that's what the library is for, right? And you can remove any sort of company-specific identification or trade secrets from anything that you have, if you would like that. So I don't share anything I collect from you unless you give me that consent. So So that's what the library is for. So please, if you have anything you want to share with folks, that would be greatly appreciated. Send it to me and I'll make sure it gets posted. So we're good for the 29th, 1 p.m., our fall meeting. All right. If
Sounds
that's
good.
it, I will let you go. Thank you so much for attending and enjoy the rest of the summer. And if you have any questions as you're diligently working on your topics, you know where to find me, email, phone call, and I try to respond as quickly as possible. I will be trying to take at least a week vacation sometime in August. So if there's a bit of a delay in replying, that's probably why. But anything urgent, I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. All right. Thank you, everybody, and take care.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.